Hey guys, it's Ornlu, and hello! Apparently, we have a patch that's coming live. No pup update. I had no idea that this patch was happening. So it all just kind of got dropped on us like a few hours ago, even when I was casting KOTD. And it does involve quite a few balance changes. It's not like a gigantic patch, but there definitely are some balance changes that I'd like to go over with you guys. I also plan on making a tier list for 1v1 Arabia for KOTD, so I'm glad I did not make that video yet, as I will be able to take those into consideration and hopefully get that for you guys tomorrow. But yeah, I've been gone for like a week, so I am really glad to be back. So let's get into this update, which is, again, live now. All right, so welcome to an exciting update for Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. This patch will bring bug fixes, balance changes, plus paves the road for the Empire Wars 1v1 ladder reset that will become the Red Bull Wololo Londinium ladder from January 2nd to 18th, 2026. Be sure to dig down into the post below to get all the smaller details before hopping in-game and checking them out firsthand. Oh, look at us. We're awesome. We're the community members. All right, so build spotlight. Yeah, there's gonna do a ladder reset. So it's basically like the last Red Bull. So there's a full ladder format for it. So that is gonna be the same gameplay. Fix an issue where hairs would decay faster than expected. Ah, interesting. Anyway, here it is. Balance changes. So first, chicken type animal food increased from 65 to 75. So now you are basically guaranteed to get all of the food from a chicken with two villagers instead of there being like you're not able to gather all of the food because of the carry capacity and the decay. So it just makes your start a little bit smoother on any sort of chicken type map, and probably still worth it just to send like two villagers out at a time for each chicken or hare. So yeah, I mean that's fine. Just a little bit of a smoother early game when you have those sorts of starts. Eagle Warrior cost reduced from 25 food, 50 gold to 20 food and 50 gold. So they're buffing Eagle Warriors. Now, remember, they nerfed Eagle Warriors with this exact change. So Eagle Warriors are going back to what they were in AOC. So 20 food, 50 gold. The American civs in general are kind of right now. Mayans, you're still going to see them picked fairly often. Aztecs and Incas less so. But in part, this feels like it's okay, we're in a ranged unit dominated meta. So civs that don't get cav archers especially are going to struggle a little bit in terms of mobility. Scout cavalry and feudal age also super powerful. The American civs are good, and this is going to be a helpful buff, but I don't necessarily think we needed it as much as we needed some other nerfs. Gambesons was also having its cost reduced, so maybe the thought process is as well, okay, we're buffing swordsmen all the time, so let's make sure that Eagle Warriors don't fall too far behind as swordsmen get better and better. Good quality of life buff to the Gambesons, especially because the infantry units themselves cost a lot of food, so reducing that food cost is going to make that transition in mid-game especially a little bit easier. Then the Traction Treb nerfs. Oh boy. Reload time increased from 9 seconds to 11 seconds. So now traction trebuchets fire more slowly than regular trebuchets. They are the slowest attacking thing in the game now. We've never had anything attack slower than a trebuchet and a cannon galleon, which both had a reload time of 10. Oh boy. Bonus damage versus buildings increased from 175 to 230. This might be a slight buff in terms of raw DPS, but remember, you're attacking more slowly anyway. So if it is an increase, it's not likely going to be a significant one, if at all. And then movement speed reduced by 0.03. This one's kind of weird. They are also now the slowest moving unit in the game, because battering rams now have a movement speed of 0.6. So I guess they're designed to be slightly slower than onagers, so onagers counter them a bit better. A little weird that, again, a 0.03 tiles per second is quite a minor decrease, obviously. So yeah, my guess is so that onagers especially are a bit easier to catch up to them. And then bombard cannons as well, of course, going to be a bit better at closing the gap. So those are the general changes. The traction treb nerfs were very much needed. It's just such an annoying unit to deal with. My concern, though, is that they're still pretty bad against buildings. And so, like, as a bombard cannon substitute, traction trebs are quite good. As a trebuchet substitute, they're pretty bad. So that's still my concern. So maybe you can increase their anti-building damage even more over time if needed. Armenians, warrior priest cost reduced from 30 food 60 gold to 30 food and 50 gold. So the thing with warrior priests is that most of the time you only build a few of them to take relic control in mid-game, and then you just never touch them for the rest of the game, because swordsmen are just cheaper and do the job better. The exception is if you go for a warrior priest all in with a bunch of fortified churches that you're rushing. This change buffs that build, which is already really annoying to deal with, so I don't like this change whatsoever, because it makes warrior priests even better where they're already good and borderline oppressive, which is that early Castle Age fortified church rush. And you're still not going to be using them in late game because swordsmen cost 20 gold in the late game, so obviously significantly cheaper in the long run when gold is starting to run low and you have 100 HP champions anyway. Yeah, not a fan of this change, to be honest. Bulgarians, Krepos can now train petards. Woo! Now, I mean, it's fine. If you're in a situation where you're like, it's a Krepos drop and then their opponent drops a castle to try and stop you and like both buildings go up, which like is not horribly uncommon, then you can go for petards in that castle to Krepos war, but Krepos still have less HP anyway, so you're still kind of at a huge disadvantage, but sure. Krepos are slowly becoming more and more like castles. Alright, Burgundians. Flemish militia movement speed increased from 0.9 to 0.94. This is, again, very strange. 0.04 speed increase. You're still very slightly slower than archers and skirmishers and hand cannoneers, which are at 0.96. And then, yeah, it's just, and I guess swordsmen are also now at 0.96. Yeah, it's just a little weird, right? It's like, I mean, I guess they're a bit better at chasing down villagers in an early game. They have a movement speed of 0.8. It just feels a little random, right? I mean, it is technically a buff, and Flemish militia, I think, are fine right now in their role as sort of like a half swordsman, half spearman unit. Like, taking Flemish Revolution aside, like the fact that you can just train them from the barracks. So that's fine, I guess. I don't know. Not like what I would consider a super pressing change one way or the other. Georgians, this is a real head scratcher. As Nori cavalry, effect increased, so mounted units take up 20% less population space instead of 15. So it's 0.8 population instead of 0.85 population for a mounted unit. And it's also cheaper by 200 food, so 750, 250 to 550, 250. I mean, okay, Georgians were already very good in the late game. I don't think they needed to be even better in the late game and get like 3 or 4 more Monaspa out, but what do I know? And the other change is fortified churches improved the nearby villager gather rate from 8 tiles to 9 tiles, so you're increasing in 1 tile in every direction. It's already an insane boost, right? You're dropping fortified churches, 10% faster gather rate on everything for your villagers. It's like, a double Romans bonus within the area of effect. Georgians already are super difficult to raid in the mid-game. Their eco is really good over the course of the game. And I don't know why we're making that even better. It's just very bizarre to me. Like, Georgians are already a super good civ that are better than most other cap civs in most situations. Except maybe like Lithuanians. So, yeah, this one really just doesn't make much sense to me. I don't know why we're buffing Georgians. They're already a very, very good civ in a ton of different settings. Jurchen's Iron Pagoda base reload time reduced from 2.28 to 2.15, so a slight reload time increase, but then on top of that, the mounted units and fire lancers bonus is going from 20 to 25%, so they're attacking even faster. Iron Pagodas are pretty underwhelming in general, so I definitely like a buff over there. Um, the Steppe Lancers are going to be really good now. 1.5 reload time, I believe. So it should be, I think, the same as like a Japanese swordsman. The Jurchen Steppe Lancers are going to be very good. The Fire Lancer Rush also should be 1.5 reload time on those now. Also going to be super good. But Jurchens were far from like an overbearing civ in general anyway, so I think this is totally fine. Also improves their Cav Archer play in mid game as well, so a little bit buff to Jurchens, who we're definitely seeing the least out of all of the civilizations from the Three Kingdoms expansion. Khitans, Mounted Trebuchet, Lingering Fire, which is like, the burn damage that you get. So it's very slightly larger radius, and the duration is longer. So the unique effect of that sort of damage over time, scorched earth play, it's a bit better. Mounted Trebs are basically still fast bombard cannons that are not good against buildings, but are a bit better at sniping other siege weapons. So, like, that's fine. It's a perfectly reasonable unit. It's not, like, overpowered. It's not useless. It's there. It has a very real role in the Khitan military. They're also maybe a little bit nicer than bombard cannons against, like, groups of ranged units, but are all going to be, like, again, way, way, way worse against buildings to the point where they're almost useless. So, it's fine. It's a perfectly fine unit. This is the big one, though. Pastures are now more expensive. Now, they're still cheaper than farms, because, one pasture equals 2 farms. A farm is 60 wood, so it'd be 120 wood for 2 farms, so it's still slightly cheaper, but not as much. The pastures are lasting longer, which is interesting. They're getting 10 more food per animal on them. So it's 2 animals at first, so you're getting 20 more food, I think. And then, another 10 food, and then another 10 food once you get those upgrades. Also, they take slightly longer to construct. So basically, pastures are now better reflecting the fact that they are more powerful but more expensive farms, which is fine. Khitans are still going to be a very, very good civ. Don't you worry about that. Also, it's a very slight nerf to Khitans over the course of a game, as you're spending a little bit more time rebuilding the pasture as opposed to gathering from it. But, like, that's going to be a very, very minor detail over the course of a game. Khitans are still going to be super good, guys. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just maybe being brought a little bit more in line with their economy. Persians, Cam and Duran. They are changing it to what it was originally, where the archer line costs 50 wood. Now, this I actually think is fine. I don't... So the thing with Kamendaran crossbowmen, or trash bows as we call them, they're really good against spearmen. They're better than skirmishers against cavalry, but they also die to enemy skirmishers. So their utility is already a little bit more limited, as skirmishers are the best unit in AoE right now. So that's a little bit rough. Did Persians need to be stronger in late game? I mean, they're not the best late game civ, but they felt sort of balanced because their late game wasn't that good, but their early game was really good. It's fine. It's probably inoffensive. It's probably a very small deal in the long run, and Persians going to be good, Hussars only cost food, Kamandar and archers only cost wood, so you can just sort of spend those 2 units using the completely separate resources and do that a little bit better now. This is another big nerf. Shu. Lumberjack generate food in addition to wood has been reduced from 9% to 7%. So it started at 10%, was nerfed to 9%, and is now down all the way to 7%. A lot of people were having issues with Shu, just sort of snowballing them in early game because you had more resources coming in with like a super easy to use bonus, right? There's, you chop wood, you get more food. It's not really like there's a lot of finesse involved there, but it's like that on top of the cheaper upgrades was just a lot for people to deal with. So that is certainly a very good change in my opinion. Shu are probably going to be one of the most common civs to see throughout KOTD. They're still probably going to be very common, but they're going to be a little less overbearing, which I appreciate. Spanish, elite conquistador attack increased from 18 to 19, so buffing the attack of elite conks and reducing the cost of that upgrade by 300 food. So 1,200 food, 600 gold to 900 food and 600 gold. So a lot easier to transition into elite conquistadors, and they do a little bit more damage. Conks are already very good in the late game. I don't really think they needed this. I mean, if anything, it maybe reduce the elite unique unit upgrade cost because those in general have been reduced across the board. I don't know, like, Conks and Imperial Age are not as good as Conks and Castle Age, but that's just because Conks and Castle Age are, like, the best unit in the game. They go from being the best unit in the game to only a very good unit, you know? Such a huge drop-off in power level. So again, this just doesn't really feel like a necessary change, really. It's fine, though. It's not likely going to do all that much. Tatars, again, we're increasing the power of the unique unit. The Keshiks are getting a lot better in Castle Age. 120 HP in Castle Age, plus Bloodlines makes 140 HP in Castle Age. That's as much as a Cavalier with Bloodlines. Well, I mean, it's just the same base HP as a Cavalier in Castle Age, so the Keshiks are going to be very, very good in mid-game. And then Elite getting 5 more HP, so you're at 165 HP fully upgraded instead of 160. Sure, also the Elite upgrade is made much cheaper, 300 gold less, 700, 900, now to 700, 600. Like, I mean, sure, it's cool. Keshiks are a fun unit, but like, all of these slight late game buffs to civs that are already good in the late game don't really feel like they matter in the context of you're just getting snowballed in early game most of the time with the top tier civs anyway. So that just feels kind of weird to me. It's like, you're making all of these changes that are kind of helping civs where they're already good. I don't know. Speaking of which, Turks, gold miners now work 25% faster instead of 20% faster. So your Turk fast castle fast tips, they're going to be even better now, guys. I know the devs wanted to make Turks better in the early game, but I don't know if... Like, this doesn't just help Turks in the early game. You're still not picking them in the early game, because why pick Turks when you could pick, like, Chinese or Magyars or whatever? I don't love this. It just feels like kind of unnecessary because, again, it makes Turks better where they're already really annoying to deal with, which is those fast Imperial Age, Castle Drop, Janissary, Bombard Cannon situations. I mean, I guess it's fine. Turks aren't even like a top pick on Arena anymore. They're only like a pretty good pick. Because there are civs that do the 1TC fast imp even better, like Bengalis or Portuguese. Again, it's just like, why can't we nerf some of the top civs instead of these more weird buffs? That's just my opinion, though. And then, Wu, Qian Swordsman train time increased from 27 to 35 seconds. That is a big nerf to train speed. 8 seconds slower. For a unit that's really overbearing on early Castle Age, that is a very real and noticeable nerf. I still think the unit is awful in late game, so I don't know... I mean, this doesn't fix that at all, as Wu are still a really bad late game civ, but... Sure. I mean, I'd rather the unit be useless than overpowered, because it's really annoying to play against, so sure, whatever. Not gonna cry any tears over Qian Swordsman being weaker. But, I mean, again... we're still doing mostly buffs, it feels like. Instead of toning down... I mean, there was some toning down that happened, right? The Qian Swordsman getting nerfed a little bit, Shu getting nerfed a little bit. Khitans as well. But, I mean, if you look at, like, tournament picks on most maps, none of them are really getting nerfed. So, like, you know, no changes to Chinese, no changes to Khmer, no changes to Lithuanians, like those sorts of civs that we just see over and over and over and over again, and likely will throughout KOTD. Chinese as well, yeah. So that's my overall thoughts on those changes. I'm not, like, some of them are fine, but it feels like we're targeting the wrong things as the devs here, in general. Also, they added a bunch of new maps. These are all going to be for the Empire Wars ladder, which I don't really care all that much about, because that's like a... We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to that. We have to get through KOTD before we start thinking about Red Bull. At least that's my thought process. Then there's a change to the AI monks, which, sure, why not? Also, they added Stonehenge, because why not add Stonehenge? Who doesn't love Stonehenge? And that is going to be it for this patch. So definitely let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of these changes. I'm kind of meh on most of them, but we are getting one more balance patch before the end of the year. So good that I did this before I started working on State of the Sims as well. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think, and I will see you probably tomorrow for that tier list video.